Hello, this is Bill Johnson, and this is my Truman Elementary School AEP 858 Module 15 case study. First of all, the problem and identification and analysis. First of all, what do I know? Truman Elementary School is the largest of 4 grade schools in the district. They also have a K through 8 grade school. They range anywhere from 500 to 700 students per school, and this city is located in a suburban community outside a medium-sized Midwestern city. They have about 15% free and reduced school lunches that apply for those that qualify. They have a 5% English as a second language students. What I also know is the school district supports 2 K through 4 schools, 4 K through 8 schools, and that does include Truman, 1 middle school, 5 through 8, and 1 high school, 9 through 12. Truman principal, the elementary principal, this is his second year that he's taught in the district, or taught in the actual elementary, but he has served in the district prior to coming there. Parents have discussed concerns over low reading achievement scores at Truman. That is the concern. They're also concerned that there's no spelling and phonics being taught at the school. National scores do show reading is lower than in math scores, which is a concern. The local PTA asked the principal to address this concern at the next meeting. What we also know is the principal did his own observation of the reading instruction. Then he did ask the reading supervisor to visit the classrooms and do an independent audit or evaluation as a second opinion. The reading supervisor validated the parents' concerns. The results were instruction is not aligned with recent research to the effectiveness of the content that's being taught and the way it's delivered in the classroom are not up to date. Recommendations by the reading supervisor. The reading supervisor said curriculum standards need to be revised. Classroom instruction needs balanced elements of reading, phonics work. The reading that they're doing needs to be challenging to them by the individual ability, and they need to be able to write about what they read. The delivery of the instruction focus on both the class and the individual needs. So we need to get back to focusing in on the actual individual and allowing flexibility to remediate or to give individual instruction. Changes will require a comprehensive professional development of our staff, and it's going to make a major shift for some teachers, and they're going to require quite a bit of support during this process. What I need to know. There's a lot of things that aren't included in this case study that we need to know. First of all, we need a lot more data. We need the mean and the median scores by teacher and grade. The one thing that was given to us is the median scores. I'd like to know what the mean scores are, what the average scores per classroom are, or per grade level, and then break them down by the teacher as well. Excuse me. We need to know, is this district-wide data? Is Truman the only class or only school that's scoring low, or is it across the board throughout our district? We need to know some demographic data. Reading scores, they need to be broken down by gender and English as a second language, by free and reduced lunches, classroom teacher, among many other things. So the more data we can gather, the better off we're going to be to solve this problem. And third, we need to find out exactly what is pulling down the school reading scores. And there's no way to do this with looking at just the assessment scores. We need to know those by all the demographics I listed above. What's the problem? Well, we know the problem is elementary's low reading scores. That seems to be the buzz right now. And the underlying problems are there is a lack of formal spelling instruction and practice. The parents are a little concerned that their kids are not being taught spelling at school, and this is an elementary school, mind you, so it's where they're going to formulate how to spell words. And keeping in mind there is not a huge proportion of our student body is ESLO, but there is 5%. The lack of integrated reading and writing instruction is a concern, and the outdated ELA curriculum. My plan of action. I have 3 simple steps to begin with, but I'm going to add to each one of those when I explain them. The first is to organize a data collection improvement team. The second is to provide a comprehensive professional development to all teachers, not just English teachers. And finally, seek community partnerships that will help in the continuous improvement cycle. My first step of organizing a data collection improvement team. This is a very important step because we need to be careful when we select knowledgeable members of this group that will lead, because they're going to be leading the charge and they're going to be setting all of the mission statements and the improvement plans as we go through this. At the bare minimum, it should include the principal, the IT director. Some of you may be saying, why is the IT director going to be involved with this? Well, as we learned in some of our other lessons, there is a great deal of data that needs to be disseminated, and the ways you can write programs to create data is pretty amazing to me, and I've learned a lot from that. We need to also have experienced teachers on this team. District testing coordinators should be there, as well as some outside resources if needed. I would like to ask the PTO a member to be involved with this, as maybe we would have some professionals to help us with disseminate our data from the State Department or some other communities. We're also going to communicate with the superintendent and the Board of Education on a regular basis. Step 2, collect as much data as possible to gain the information. We're going to look at multiple measures of data. We're not just going to look at just the test scores, but we need the demographic data to tell us who we are. We're going to look at perception data. How do we do business? We may have made many of our parents mad or upset on the way we're doing business because we're not listening to them. We also obviously are going to test the student learning data, types of test scores, and then we're going to look at the school process data, which basically has already been done a little bit by our language or English coordinator. Step by step, still number 3, we're going to analyze the data results. We're going to first of all figure out where we're at now, not just make a jump to conclusion about that, but after we gather a lot more data, it will tell us a lot more about who's scoring low and what groups we need to target, or we're going to target the entire building, or we're going to target the teachers. We're going to use results to apply for grants. There are some grants available to schools that are scoring low and that maybe have certain demographics, and we're going to see if we fit into those. We're going to share all of this information with the teachers, the Board of Education, the PTO, as well as we set goals. Where do we want to be? And we want to be as open and as transparent as possible during this process. Step number 4 is we're develop the mission. We're going to, first of all, how can we get to where we want to be? We're going to develop a mission to get there and establish the action plan. The action plan is going to involve the vision, the goals, and the objectives to try to raise English testing scores, obviously. And finally, we will keep families and community aware of these goals and objectives. And we'll do that I will hold some PTO meetings, site council meetings, other special community meetings to inform the public of what's going on, because they're the ones that are paying the bill. It's their community school, and they have a right to know. The second one of my steps is provide comprehensive professional development to all teachers. The step-by-step, I said, first we're going to look at to work with all teachers so they understand how to analyze data. Some teachers don't analyze data on a regular basis, so get over the fear of them being able to analyze that. We're going to share the mission and the vision so that all the teachers get on board and work together. We're going to provide in-service time both in our building and outside of our even at outside workshops and seminars so that they can gain some valuable information. Second, it's going to involve an extensive remodel of the English Language Arts department. We're going to revise the curriculum to match state standards. We're going to have English teachers work with the district reading supervisor to improve teaching instruction. And we're going to utilize the already established MTSS groups to remediate students and provide them another time for them to read or to improve their English. We're also going to incorporate on the reading supervisor's instructions, incorporate phonics skills, reading comprehension, and writing into the English department. Next thing we're going to do, finally, we're going to provide for weekly collaboration among all faculty departments. This is not just the English department, but all departments can learn from the one area that we have right now is one of our family members is lacking or has a weakness, and we all need to work together to improve that. All departments will meet with a member of the data collection improvement team on a monthly basis. This will allow the data collection team to kind of go through what's going on throughout the month with their work and where we're going to go. If there's any new research that's available, we can utilize that. We're also going to use the continuous school improvement cycle of the plan, implement, evaluate, and improve model, and then we're going to repeat that over and over again in a systematic manner so that we can till we achieve some results. We need to train. One thing that I would do definitely is to train all faculty and staff on the laws, the policies regarding the use of data, especially when it comes to privacy and the professionalism, the update laws on how they need to handle those so that we do not target one student. The third thing is that I would like to seek out partnerships that are going to help in the continuous improvement cycle. Partnerships are very, very important, especially PTO. They show an interest in our school. We need to work with them so that they feel like they're part of the process. The PTO, the plans, the actions, mission, and vision, we need to communicate that with them. We need to ask for a PTO member to join the data collection and improvement team so that they can feel like they're part of the process. And I think it's very important that we have members of the community, whether they come from our site councils or from the PTO or just from the community, to be involved with the improvement. Next, I believe we need to communicate with parents and community members on maybe at least a couple times a month, maybe once a month, to hold open houses to establish dialogue, especially anytime that we're taking on a big approach to try to improve one area, change things. Another way we can disseminate some information to the people is to use the school website to post updates, and to use school media, or social media, to reach out to the community and the followers. A lot of people now receive their information through social media or through textcaster processes that most of the schools use. Category 3, we're going to resolve the issues based on promoting the success of all students. Well, the success of all students means we need to evaluate the state English assessment scores, and we find that they are lacking, and we need to have a better English preparation and instruction. We have to take responsibility that the school needs to improve those scores. We need to revise the English curriculum to better match state standards so that we can actually prepare our students for the state assessments. Category 3, resolve the issues based on promoting the success of all students. The principal and the reading supervisor's evaluation of the English both concluded that the revisions to the program are needed. Phonics, along with other reading skills, will be incorporated into the learning process along the way. English teachers will undergo professional development to improve instruction. So we are going to help the success of all students by doing those things. Category 4, debriefing and reflection. What was I thinking, feeling, and valuing as I went through this? Well, first of all, why is Truman's score lower in reading than in math? And as we went through this, that kept coming up to me. The PTO, I was thinking, has a valid concern, and I value their opinion. They're the taxpayers, and they're the parents of the kids, so we definitely want to address their concerns. As a building leader, I was thinking I must take responsibility to answer the community's concerns, and I also must take responsibility for my building if they're lacking. and which led me to believe that Truman must do better than what we're doing now. Unresolved issues. How has the PTO responded to my leadership decisions? That wasn't brought up. Are the teachers buying into the department level meetings or the other continuous improvement cycle? Is the action plan working? Will the continuous school improvement cycle work by the next testing period? Those are the things that I would like to know. Category 5, reflection. How did I act as an agent of continuous improvement by engaging families and the community in a meaningful, reciprocal, and mutual beneficial way? Well, I thought I did this by treating all persons that may be involved with respect. I worked with the parents and the PTO members to address their concerns in a professional manner. I took steps to include the parents, the PTO, and community members in the process and asked for their help to serve on the data collection improvement team. And I also applied research-based continuous school improvement cycle to Truman in order to improve our reading scores. B1, how did I use the data presented to respond and communicate to the larger community their concerns about the instructional program? Well, first thing I did was by taking their concerns very seriously. And by doing that, we created a data collection improvement team to analyze Truman's assessment scores more in depth. We just didn't go off of just a few of the testing scores that we saw. We wanted to break them down by many other demographics. I also asked the reading supervisor to evaluate the ELA department, and I implemented changes that will improve instruction based on the results of the demographic data as well as other multiple measures of the data. B2, how did I apply knowledge of the policies, laws, regulations that govern the school to influence and bring about positive change in teaching and learning that impacts all student groups? By implementing the proper steps, instead of jumping to conclusions, we went to the policies and we did an evaluation of the ELA department. We collected multiple sources of data and we worked with teachers to improve instruction through the evaluation process. As a building leader and knowing a little bit about school law, you have to know that you can't just go in and say fire the entire English department just because of low testing scores. You have to work in the evaluation process to work with them so that they can show that they want to buy into the process and work to try to get better. Also, laws that I worked with was I did a staff training on student privacy and testing scores so that all staff would understand that we do not identify individual students when we're doing any of the testing scores, so to keep them in a privacy in a very professional manner. Category 5, B3, how did I establish an ongoing dialogue with decision makers outside the school concerning the efforts of teachers and students, and how did those decision makers can effectively influence and improve instruction and student performance? I met with the PTO several times during the process, and I included a PTO representative on the data collection improvement team. I also held open houses, and so these outside decision makers, to involve them in the dialogue of what's going on. I also set up a committee to apply for grants based on our needs after a formal evaluation of all of our student demographic data and how they respond on our assessments, so that we can work towards applying for some grants that will improve our instruction, and by working with all educational stakeholders in a professional and courteous manner. Conclusion. The case study is Truman Elementary School. As a building leader, we promoted the academic success. I won't read the whole thing to you, but promoted the academic success of the well-being by including the families and community in the meaningful analysis of the data of our school. There are the references. Thank you very much for your attention, and it's been a pleasure working with all of you in this class.